a.m. and it's time for another coffee Q&A. This is your daily dose of the coffee Q&A. We do the coffee Q&A here on the OnoCoffee channel most every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. I'm your host, Jim. What's going on? How's it going? If you have questions about coffee, put them in the comments here or down here or later if you're watching on the replay. Love to hear what you think about things. So how's it going? Hopefully it's going well. So today I've got this thing here called the Coffee Gator. And it's something I picked up a little while ago, and I was like, oh, look at this. I saw it online, and I was like, what is this? What is this CHEMEX-looking thing? And I was wondering, like, is it a CHEMEX? I mean, after all, it's only $22, right? Kent, good morning to you. Mom, how are you doing? And I was like, let me order it. And I think we did a video of it a while back, maybe about over a year ago. And so I thought, let's bring it out again and have a look to see what it's all about. So as you can see from the illustration here on the box, it has that iconic time glass shape that the CHEMEX is known for. So we've got it here. Let's have a look. This is the Coffee Gator. I love the name Coffee Gator. Like, who doesn't like something like that? Musa, good morning to you. Peter, how are you doing? And Maku, good to you. So let's see, drink better coffee, more of this. And then here's how you do it. So this is really simple. Add coffee to filter, slowly pour over hot water. Your coffee will slowly drip through. Remove filter and enjoy. Okay, so let's just get into it. Let's get into it. And actually, let me go grab a CHEMEX so that we can have a comparison between the two. That way we will, see a more direct result. And then what I'll also grab is where are the filters? Okay, the filters. All right, here's the CHEMEX. Here's a kind of old school CHEMEX. I'm going to use that as a comparison device. Although I probably should get, that's the 8 cup. This is, I got the s'mores the blue. Where's the 6 cup? Look at the 6 cup. That's a little bit more size comparable. Where's the 6 cup? There. Yeah, this will be a lot. I think this will be more of an apples to apples kind of comparison. So let's have a look inside this Gator. Busa says, for some reason, my feed always starts like 30 seconds after it starts. Huh. I wonder if sometimes I think there's just delays in the way that YouTube transmits things, I think. Marcus says, this looks more like a gamer version. I know, we just need some LEDs, don't you think? Okay, let's have a look inside the box. So it's got the filter here. Okay, nice. And then we've got the glass. Okay, that's pretty much that's all that's in there. So let me just take this out of the packaging. So very CHEMEX reminiscent, right? Looks very, very much like a CHEMEX. It says Coffee Gator. I don't know. I love the name. I like the whole idea of Coffee Gator. And then we have our filter. Now, I don't really like metal filters overall because I think they're just too perforated, right? Like you can see how big the perforations are. Now, this one it's what I would consider a dual stage. So as you can see, we can see through it, right? You can kind of see through it depending on the angle we're looking at. So metal mesh, stainless steel mesh on the inside. There's a little bit of a seam right here where my finger is. But on the outside, it's stainless steel perforations. So it's kind of double, which means that, it's supposed to be, probably get better filtration, but you're always going to have, with metal filters, a lot of the minor sediments that will get through. And so it'll be you can always expect it to be a little bit cloudy. Now, with the thing that I'm concerned about with filters like this, since they are two-stage filters, that means that there's a very, maybe just a really minute gap, but there's always going to be a gap between the two layers, which means that these little sediments can get through and get stuck, which now theoretically the mesh here is going to be finer than the relatively coarser perforations. You can see the perforations like thus. But I still think it will make it harder, more difficult to clean, right? So we're not going to use this, right? Because really, the whole thing is this a CHEMEX killer? So it's not a CHEMEX killer if it has this, because my thoughts on this with CHEMEX. All these guys that make metal filters for CHEMEX. It's just that's not the CHEMEX. The CHEMEX, we always think the CHEMEX is this glass shape, but really, to me now, my whole thing with CHEMEX is that the CHEMEX is the filter. And even though, like here in this, I keep this metal filter from Koba in here, even though this one, has that CHEMEX-y conical shape and is a stainless steel with microfine, perforations. You can still see them there. It's still perforations. It's still going to let the sediments through. And if you have sediment in your coffee, then to my mind, it is not CHEMEX, right? It's just not giving you the flavor. What is the CHEMEX to me is whatever this magical paper that is pine-based, whatever that is truly what makes the CHEMEX. And so while we may have this as the ubiquitous CHEMEX-y shape that everyone knows and loves, this is a close approximation of it, right? But if we take our CHEMEX filters and we brew it in this, we really should get exactly the same performance, or at least a reasonable facsimile of performance between the two. Peter says, I like the look, but I don't like the narrow neck. Too hard to get your hands in to clean. That's a good point. It's kind of like it's a goatsy or something like that, right? Okay, that's not an SFW, right? Yeah, that doesn't work. Although, I don't know. Can we complain though? Because this is more goatsy than this one. Like I can get my fingers in less. And unlike certain things, this doesn't stretch. So, I don't know, but if you get there is a CHEMEX-y brush, right? If you get the CHEMEX brush, you can shove it in there. So, like, for example, I have this brush. This is not a CHEMEX brush. This is just kind of a special brush that we get from the restaurant supply for dishwashing. It's got a profile on. So this one you can just kind of shove in there and it'll get into your crevasses, right, like that, and then we'll come out. And I think it'll work the same for this one. I think it's a little bit smaller. It is smaller. Now you got to force it to get in, to get up there, right? To get up here, you have to really reach up there, right? You have to reach it. You have to curve it up and pull on it like that. You have to curve it and pull, and so you're kind of like trying to get, you know what I'm talking about. You know how difficult that is. You can tell. You know what I'm saying. So let's try. We're gonna try it. It's a relatively kind of similar profiles, right? Let's get this CHEMEX out of the way. Similar profiles, similar height. How about the width? The circles, the tops are a little bit narrower, right? The Gator's a little bit narrower. But we're gonna try. Let's try. We're gonna actually. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do head to head. We're gonna do head to head brewing with these two. The only problem is I don't have any scale. I wasn't prepared to do head to head brewing. I hadn't thought about it till just now. But we will persevere and go forth. Do I have a scale somewhere? Let me look for a scale, and we will see about. I don't really believe that there will be much difference between the two. I think we're going to find very, very similar results in between the two. I'm just going to grab some for a scale. I have put other scales away because we've been using this fellow Tally Pro and haven't had much need for other scales. We have another scale. So we've got our two things. We need two CHEMEX filters, right? Oh, I'm running low on filters. I better buy some more. These are the square filters. I prefer the circular filters because they make cones instead of these kind of like, triangular things. But what these are basically just big squares, right? They're just big squares that are just folded over. But if you look at this material, right? I don't know if you can see, you can kind of see it. It has this parchment-like appearance. Right? You can kind of see it. So there's a different texture. Like this is the CHEMEX, and then this next one. Which one is this one? If I remember correctly, it's been a long time since I put these in here, but this is the Sybarist filter, right? So the fast flow filter, still don't understand them. But you can see the textures. Oh, there's two here. Let me just separate the two. But the textures are different. You can see that this one has different texture than this, and that all somehow that all contributes. But the thing about the CHEMEX ones is that the CHEMEX filters are a pine-based filter, and that's really, to me, what makes the difference. So they fold it up, so you can actually buy the full sheets and then fold your own. I don't know why you want to do that. Maybe you have special folding. And actually, there's a couple of videos on this channel where the guys are showing me some alternative folding methods for the CHEMEX. Just kind of fun if you want to try it. But as you know, we fold it over twice, and then here you're just going to take, when you're going to use the CHEMEX filter, you're going to take it, and you're going to look at the plies as they're folded. The point folds down, and then up here there's like now 1, 2, 3, 4 plies. So you're just going to separate the one ply from the three, and open it up so that it creates a pocket, and that little pocket is where you're going to put the coffee. So you put this down in here. And that's pretty much how you're going to do it, right? So we're going to do it that way. We're going to measure coffee first. Naomi says, good morning. Is this not a CHEMEX? No, this is the coffee Gator. This is the Gator. This is the CHEMEX. Now, when it comes to weight, there is a weight difference. So this feels a little more substantial. Right? So let's actually have a look at the weight. These two. Tear that out. So this is CHEMEX, 598 grams. This is the 6-cup CHEMEX with the glass handle, right? This is the manufactured one rather than the hand-blown glass. Like some of them are hand-blown. And then now is the coffee Gator. So 370. So we're talking a good 25%, 30% lighter weight. So it doesn't have as much mass. The thermal mass will not be the thermal retention will not be as good between the two. However, this is only $22. This is what, $40-something now. So you're going to, there's kind of a trade-off, right? There's going to be a trade-off. So let's see here. We need to get our coffee. Let's get our coffee ready. So I've got another scale here that I'm going to use. This is the little AWS scale from Amazon. I got this back in 2011, I think it was. 2,000 gram maximum capacity with a 0.1 gram resolution. Really cheap. Like this is super affordable, and it comes with a little bit of a little cover here, right? So you can use it as a tray, or it comes with a bigger cover that you can also use as a tray. So if you want to measure out beans or something, it actually works great. And it's great for travel because you could actually nest everything together like this, right? And everything is nice and compact. And I think it's like $15. Like this is really, I've used this on the live stream a few times. So I think it's really a nice scale at a great value. Now if you can compare it between the two, now we can compare the two, right, size-wise. So a lot smaller. Now he says, I see the difference now. My first time seeing this Gator, first time with the Gator. And Peter says it has a spout, so the Gator's better. Well, I mean, the The CHEMEX does have a spout. It's not as pronounced. Definitely the Gator has a better pronounced spout. And actually, we'll remember to try that when we pour it to see which one's better. Naomi says, I have the CHEMEX with the handle. Yeah, I like these CHEMEXs with the handles. We started using these handle ones probably in 2008 or so, whenever they were coming out, or whenever we could get them, because they're just easier to use in a commercial environment, right? So we don't have to worry about the wood or the leather, taking it off, putting it back on, cleaning it or whatever, and getting it dirty. This you can just wash, and everything is so much easier to work with. Okay, now Peter says CHEMEX has a spout too. It never did. I think it always has, my friend. I think it always has. I don't remember a time being when we used the CHEMEX that it didn't have it. But I mean, perhaps, it has been produced since 1941. So there definitely could be an era before I ever got into coffee that it may not have had a spout. Okay, so let's have a look at our blah, 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 blah. Let's get our scale going on here. We're going to use the House Nation, the house coffee from store that I made. We're going to use 24 grams. We're going to do two setups, right? So 24 grams. Oh, that's too much. 24 in this one. Very good. I'm going to go to... Oops. Where's that other bean? Did that other bean fall into that? Oh, that's too much now. Now it's too much. Okay, 24. So we should have 24 all the way around now. Mary says, is that the Gator for the same company that makes the Gator scale? I don't know. I believe maybe. I can only say maybe. If you're familiar with the Gator scales logo, here's the Coffee Gators logo on this one. So if it's the same, then it should be the same. I imagine that it probably is. I'm just not familiar with their scale. Okay, so let's get our fellow Tally Pro together. We're going to use the same grind setting as yesterday, the 1 tick towards 5 from 6. First, we're going to do the first batch. I guess we'll transfer that into this one. And then the next batch, I'm going to put back in. All right. That works. Okay, now, since the Gator is our brewer for the day, we're going to put the Gators on the on here, and then, like I said, we're going to take our filter, we'll tear it out. We're going to tear it out first. Tear that out. Let's go to brew assist mode. Okay. And then we're going to open up the filter. Like I said, open up the filter with the 1 ply. And then the 1 ply goes to the back, right? Because you want the 3 plies to be the resistance against the spout. And then that should give us... So 23.8. Oh, we have a little bit of loss. Maybe that was because that one errant bean that I had to pull out. But that's fine. That's fine. We're not going to worry too much about that now. Over here, Let's turn this scale on. And now this tears out. Put this on here with our filter. Oops. Oh. That's harder to see. There we go. 604. Tear this. Tear that out. Now we're going to add the coffee. Watch out, because like if they touch, then we're going to have errors in meetings. $24.1. So maybe that one, maybe that other bean went somewhere else and I missed it. Morning, Paige. Or good evening, depending where you are. Exactly. True. Name said, I had to go look. It is the same coffee Gator company. My very first coffee scale. How did you like that scale? Was it nice? I mean, I think this is a fairly decent product. Like perhaps not the greatest of, like, I don't know, coffee products, but I think it's fine. Right, okay, so now we can see both. Okay, so let's tear this now. Tear. There we go, tearing that. Then we'll get our little bell, our little bear timer. And then here, we're in our mode, right? 23.8. Okay, so we're ready now. Okay, now we're ready to brew. The water is nice and boily. I'm going to put the water in the kettle. Oh, I wonder if we're going to have enough water. For sure we have enough water to brew, but I don't know if we have enough water, at least in this kettle. I don't have enough water ready. Let me heat up some more just in case we run low. Okay, so now here we go. We're going to press this button. And now we will begin. Okay, so about 60 some on each one. We're starting out. I'm going to try to paste them roughly the same. So on both of them, so the water has flowed through. It's starting to get a little drippy at the bottom. Now we're going to just go in 123. Yeah, 123. Paige says, I have Coffee Gator storage containers for my beans. Oh, that's awesome. How are those? How do you like those? I wonder how you like those. Naomi says, not as good as the Tally Pro or the Aku scale that I have. So it's currently sitting, okay. I mean, I think that, I think Coffee Gator is definitely focusing on the market where they are, what do you call it? On the more budget-friendly market, I think. Which is fine. I think it should be a perfectly fine product for that purpose. 127, 160, 127 now. So I told you guys before when we did the CHEMEX episode that I have a very specific recipe for doing CHEMEX. I'm not following that right now. I'm just kind of following our normal brew pacing just to see, really the idea is that are we going to see much variation between the two? I suspect we will not. Although the way the two are pouring, like I feel like the way they're flowing through is different, which would make some sense because the Coffee Gator is a narrower top where the CHEMEX has greater, opening. Because I also feel like the way that the grinds are settling on the sides also to me looks a little bit different, right? So 2 minutes, 30 seconds and 265 grams. And here 263.4 grams at 2 minutes, 35 seconds. So we're kind of pacing it roughly the same. I'm going to add some more water to the kettle from the boiling kettle. So that'll boost our temperature just a little bit. So we're 3 minutes, 292. So we really should start getting closer to our finish. I'm just holding, just kind of filling each one to hold the water line roughly the same, just to keep everything nice and hydrated. 325, 326 at 315 and 312. So we're roughly at the same pace, which is a good thing. Positive. 342. 342. There we go. Boom. 345, 342. This one has slightly more coffee in it by 0.2 grams. So we'll just go up a little bit on that. Now that's going to be finishing up. So we're roughly within the right time range that we'd like to have. 3 minutes, 45 seconds right now. 3 minutes, 45 seconds right now. So fairly positive. This one is the drips are starting to sputter. And this one is still flowing. All right, now we're almost finished with these brews, so that's good. Paige says, I like them pretty well. I've had them for a few years. Thinking about trying the Airscape containers in addition to these to see what's better. The Airscape, I think I have a couple of these Airscapes for 5-gallon for 5-gallon pails. I think it's the Airscape. And these are it's kind of like this big rubber gasket. It has a grip on it that like opens and it loosens it or something. And you shove it in, you let it go, and it locks. For what I'm using them for, which is when we're doing some types of deliveries with like lower quantities of coffee, we'll use those to transport the coffees. I think they work well. They work fairly well. If they're the same company, the smaller ones, the home ones work the same way, I think you'll find positive results with that. Okay, so there we are. We have now finished. We have finished now our brewing. So, Coffee Gator, CHEMEX, both are using CHEMEX filters. So I wanted to see if there's much of a difference. Really, the question is, can you buy the CHEMEX filters and make CHEMEX coffee? Theoretically, the theory that I have been pushing, the idea that metal filters are rubbish in a CHEMEX because the whole magic of CHEMEX is the filter itself, now rests on this. The stakes are high. The stakes are high. If I'm wrong, then, well, would it be the first time? Would it be the first time? Paige says, oh, I already read that. Okay, good. So now let's have a look here. We're going to use the same glass, not the normal glass that I've been using, but we're going to use the same glass for both. That way the results will be just about even. So clarity-wise, I'd say they're fairly similar, right? I don't see much variation there. Right? That's pretty good. Okay, so let's taste the original first. Now, I did try to compensate. There was a slight variation, right? 24.1, 23.9, 23.8. Maybe it's 3.3 grams difference. So there's a little more water in this one than this one to help compensate for that. Charles, good to talk to you as well. Okay, so we're going to try the CHEMEX. Initially some bitterness, but then followed by sweetness, good body. a little bit dry on the finish. Now, I'm not necessarily looking for the quality of the coffee here, right? Not whether or not the House Nation is a good coffee. We already know it's a good coffee, of course. But the real question is, how much of a difference between the two will there be? The bitterness at the beginning, at the onset, is the same. But the way that it, like this one starts off bitter, then transitions to sweetness relatively quickly. And this one, the bitterness seems a little more pronounced, with the transition to the sweetness coming, lingering. It takes longer. The bitterness lingers longer in this one. Huh. That's interesting. Now I wonder if we need to slosh it around a little bit more. And we did the sloshing thing. Huh. Okay, now that it's cooled down a little bit more. Yeah, there's really not much discernible difference. I don't think there's actually any discernible difference now. Yeah, that's pretty much, they're pretty much equal. I mean, they are equal, not pretty much, but they are equal. So I'm going to say that we're going to taste it some more as it cools to see, if this really holds out. Are the two coffees going to be equivalent? Like, can you get CHEMEX quality brewing with the coffee Gator by using the CHEMEX filter? And initially, I'm going to say yes. The results are very, very positive. I don't know if it's very positive or what should be expected based on the theory that I've been promoting. Unfounded. If the theory has not been proven we haven't tried to prove it until now. So, not that I would say that I'm any kind of scientific mind or anything. I mean, yeah, they're pretty much equivalent coffees. We use roughly this, at the end of the day, it turned out that we had a little bit more coffee by 0.3 grams here than this one. So we brewed this a little bit with a little more water to compensate for that. And I'm not really tasting a difference between the two. Now he's asking, what's the angle degree for CHEMEX? So we're talking about this angle. You know what? That's a good question. I would like to tell you as a woodworker, I have an angle gauge that can measure that, but I don't. I still haven't bought that one yet. They're roughly similar, but definitely the Coffee Gator's tighter. But however, while during the brewing cycle, I kind of felt like I noticed that this flowed better than this one, probably because of that wider slope. I think this is a wider slope or shallower slope or whatever you want to call it, more like this than this, right? I felt like it was flowing better. I don't know if faster, but better. The way that if you look at the replay, the way that the slurry forms, I think just kind of looked a little bit better here. Now, am I saying that looks better because I wonder, like, now that I'm saying it, am I saying that looks better because it actually looks better, or just because it looks more what I had been used to over the years of brewing with this coffee versus this one, where I haven't spent anywhere near as much time in the saddle with this brewer. So, but in the cup now, there's no real discernible difference. Like early on, when it was still hot, there was some different, like the onset of bitterness. There was bitter up front, and then the way that the bitter dissipated into sweetness was much more rapid with the CHEMEX brewed rather than the Gator brewed. But now that they've reached a little bit cooler stage, there is no discernible difference. Like it is pretty much. the same coffee experience. Nice coffee, though. Nice coffee. Oh, Nemo says compared to the V60, it says 60 degrees. Oh, okay. I wonder if the V60 means 60 degrees. The power plant's with us. Also, the paper sticks to the glass, affecting the bypass. Ah, yes. Well, I imagine that the two. Well, maybe that could be it. Like perhaps the way that it flows is affected by the way that it sticks, right? So, presuming that both papers were sticking to the glass in the same manner, the wider or the shallower angle of this versus the steeper angle of this probably has some impact in the way that it flows through. Marcus says, Festool is about to sponsor these streams, but then they learn you don't have an angle. Yeah, it's totally it. They were like, nine. We're not, actually, today, I have to go watch a live stream today because today is Festool's 100th anniversary, and they're having some kind of celebration that they invited all these influencers to Indianapolis, where their headquarters is in the United States. As you can tell, this is not a blue screen. Right? I'm not actually in Indianapolis because I was not invited. So same as the V60, it's all about the paper. I do think a lot of it, or at least with the CHEMEX, right? The CHEMEX for me is about the paper. Like what makes CHEMEX brews so tasty or so desirable is the filtration material, right? It's not the shape has something to do with it, right? But this is really just a pretty vessel in many respects. And they're people that make all these metal filters that are like, oh, use the metal filter for the CHEMEX. Well, to my mind, if you use the metal filter with the CHEMEX, you no longer have a CHEMEX because maybe the angle has part of it, but it all works together. It all works in conjunction, right? Like, for example, if you go for a steak at the steakhouse and you order a steak dinner, but they don't give you beef, they give you chicken, is it still a steak dinner, right? Well, it's better for you ostensibly, it's more healthy, but is it still a steak dinner? That's kind of how I look at it with these, right? The power plant says the Kona brewer has smooth size, unlike the V60 and cafe flower. You know what? I need to use that Kona. I have a Kona brewer somewhere. I have to go find it. A friend of mine gave it to me many, many years ago. I've always been meaning to do a video with it, and I have yet to do it. And I've had this Kona brewer now, gosh, it must be close to 10 years. It's terrible. Marcus says, Herlitzen Gonkenwitsch Festool. Google Translate says it means congratulations. I'm going to have to remember that for when I go on the live stream today and send my comments in. The Festool people. Actually, I just got another Festool piece yesterday. There are these things that you call dust separators that are supposed to separate larger particulates of dust from small particulates of dust. That way your vacuum bags will last longer. So I got one yesterday. I found a guy selling one on Facebook Marketplace for really cheap. I was like, ooh, I gotta call it. Because Festool stuff is not. Like I wasn't planning to buy one, but then this guy had like a super, he was selling it for like super, super low price. I was like, hey man, let me meet with you. Naomi says, I need to see all your brewers. You must have them all, but I don't have them all. I have too many. I have way more than I really need. Mainly because we've been collecting them for either uses on the live stream or on the channel, and then of course having them in the shops. And then I have a number of brewers that were kind of like donated to us at the old shops, kind of like for display pieces, some older models of different brewers. All right. Yeah, I mean, as I'm drinking this coffee, the House Nation, from both, there really is no discernible difference. Like, I'm not finding real strong. I'm not finding a strong reason not. If you're budget conscious, I'm not finding a reason not to buy this and then get a bunch of these filters and use them together and create fantastic coffee. So did you guys see the thumbnail today? CHEMEX killer, too clickbaity, too YouTubey, or just okay? Just right. I'm curious. I'm trying to find more clickbaity, YouTubey kind of things that are, without having to go to too much of on the thumbnails, Braxton says that coffee brews are like we just need an app now. We just need an app to go chase after them. Naomi says, I remember the CHEMEX being the clearest coffee when we did a taste test with different brewers. I mean, I think, and that is, to me, that's because of the filtration material, right? The filtration material, very different, pine-based. And that's all I know. That's all I know. I keep saying pine-based because that's all they've told me. They won't tell me anything more. So pine-based filtration material, and it is different. It is different. I find it to be quite a bit different than other filtration materials. So that's, to me, that's the secret sauce, right? And we talk about, like, we could say that the angle has a difference. So this is shallower, this is slightly steeper, but it's early on in the cup. Perhaps there was some of that, but really, as the coffee has, for the rest of the brew, I haven't really noticed any real difference. So, I mean, you could just get this and get the filters and you make great coffee. And I think you could do it and tell people you're making CHEMEX coffee. And you are making CHEMEX coffee because you're using CHEMEX filter. But you could give it to CHEMEX aficionados. As long as they don't see you brewing it, they'll be like, oh, this is great. This is the best coffee ever. You're like, you're right. It is totally the best. Power Plant says, I like the CHEMEX, but the paper needs to be rinsed so well. It is a little wasteful to me. I mean, I haven't found that the CHEMEX, that's the only time that we ever really rinsed the CHEMEX. Like, I have to test it again. I can't recall anymore. It's been so many years, but I don't know if we have to necessarily rinse it. Like, I'm not tasting many or any off flavors because of the paper. I did not rinse it in this video. Although I think you're probably right. We probably should be rinsing it more. And I remember at the Hamden shop, we did rinse it, but I can't remember if we're rinsing it because of paper taste or because we wanted to just keep it formed to the side of the CHEMEX. Because, it kind of pops up and you're trying to work. And, if you're trying to make multiple stuff going on in the bar and things popping off, and you're like, oh, gosh. So you just hit it with some water. And typically we'll just hit filters with water just to stabilize them in the vessel. Power Plant says, for most people, I think Clever Dripper is the number one. I mean, I think Clever isn't, I don't know if I'm sure I've said this before, but if you were to actually come to my kitchen and see what brew do I have in the kitchen, it's the Clever, because it's so much simpler to use. Marcus says, I'm just happy you're not posting thumbnails with you making a surprise. Tomorrow. Naomi says, I find brown paper has more paper. I totally agree. Well, I don't know if you've seen it, but I think it's on this channel. We did a filter test early in the early days of the channel, like 3-4 years ago now, where we took all the filters that we could find and taste tested them all. And the ones that were the most egregious, like actually the bleach ones were always fine. And in the coffee world, like, people are always like, oh, the bleached are bad because they're bleached. You should be using natural filters. And I was like, what? Really? Kind of brown. I didn't really care at the time. But then when I thought about this video, we made the video, did this big, like, taste testing. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, the ones that everybody says you should be using are the ones that are the worst offenders. And I found that if for the most part, I think there was maybe just a couple that were not, this is not true. I have to watch the video now again. But when it came to bleach white paper filters, you could use all of them, or at least the grand majority of them, with no rinsing, with no ill effect. Because what we did is we took the filters and put them in cups, and then fill them with hot water, and let it steep for like 4 or 5 minutes, and then pull the filters out, and then just taste it. Could you taste something other than the water in the water? And all the brown ones failed. The total failures. So if you use a brown, you can use the brown, but you really have like the power plant says, you can, if you use the browns, you really have to rinse them. So it's kind of wasteful in that respect. But I still have some brown filters upstairs in the kitchen. Whenever I use them, I always like rinse them really hard because you just need to get that paper flavor out of it. Power plant says says, how long do you let it sleep in the Clever? Power plant says 2 minutes. For me, I do 3. And of course, you can always tailor it to your taste. But for me, I do it 3. I still look for 3 to 4 minute brew times, even with the Clever. So what I'm doing is that it's still that same time. So I'll time it for 3 minutes, and then put it on top of the cup, which opens the valve, and then it should take about 30 to 45 seconds for that 12-ounce serving to flow through, and that yields results that I've enjoyed very much. And so the nice thing for me about Clever is that if I'm making it, it's typically because I'm having breakfast, and I want to. I'm kind of like I want to have hot coffee with hot breakfast. That's like it's super important for me, right? Like otherwise, it's like, what am I doing? Why am I wasting my time? So I'm cooking, and I want to plate everything together, and I want everything to come to the table at the same time. So if it's bacon, it's eggs, rice, toast, whatever it is, I want everything to come to the table hot. And so the nice thing for me about the Clever is that, I get to a certain point, I've got it all set up. Before I begin, I've got it all set up. Paper filter, coffee's already ground, and it's all ready to go. Water is boiling. And so when it reaches a point we're getting ready to come to the ending of the cooking, to plating, then hit it with the water, hit the timer, 3 minutes, and then now it's go time. And so you're putting it all together. You're finishing everything up. You're plating it all together. And then by then, hopefully it's already beeping, and you take that, drop it on top of the glass, the mug, take everything on the table. 30 seconds later, that should be done. Take that, it's done. Easy. Easy peasy. And now everything's hot. French toast or whatever it is, all hot. Naomi asks, is the Clever produces paper? Yes, says the power plant. Any paper with a trapezoidal shape. I think that as long as do I fold? No, I have the trapezoidal filter. So I was thinking I have the trapezoidal filters. We put those fit natively in the Clever. We have to fold them to fit in the V60. That's what it is. Power plant says filter's my bag, baby. Why is it only 2-3 minutes for Clever, but 4 minutes for French press? So here's the thing: why it's 4 minutes? It's about total extraction time, right? So the grind setting that I'm using for both CHEMEX, Clever, and French press are actually the same, fully coarse, equally coarse. The thing is that you have 4 minutes for the French press, right? So you've got. You're waiting. 4 minutes, beep, beep, beep. You compress it and you separate it out, and it only takes like a moment, and then you pour. The Clever doesn't work in the same way. The Clever, you have to flow it out, so that I put it on the cup at 3 minutes, but it takes still about 30 to 45 seconds for it to flow through. So the contact time is roughly the same. Well, not exactly the same. Like if you really are waiting for the full 4 minutes, you can like try to, once you figure out like how much are floated, you can push it to like 315, 330, or whatever you want to get that 4 minutes. But the thing is that even though it may seem that they're different, the exposure to water time is still roughly the same. And the grind size, says power plant. Paige says, I do 3 minutes on the Clever, 3 minutes on the Clever. What's the grind size for Clever? Power plant says medium fine, but it's quite subjective to. Yeah, it's definitely subjective. So I like to use coarse because I don't want to think too much about it. So I go to coarse. But try it around. That's the whole thing. And that's the beauty of what we're doing. So here's it. With coffee, you want to tailor it to your taste. It's not, because again, It's all about pleasure, right? Pleasurable hedonism. How do you enjoy your coffee? That's all that matters. That's all that matters. The power plant says Espro press is also good. It is a pain to clean. It is a pain to clean. I don't really understand it. I have one. I used it a couple times. I'm like, too much cleaning. Too much cleaning. Now it says Saharia switches sims cover more or less. More or less, I think it's the same. It's cover the valve mechanisms are a little bit different, but essentially the whole process of making it, I approach in the same way. Power plant says if I don't like my brew, it goes in the bin. All right, there, Gordon Ramsay. Now he says, I found an SS Espro press at the thrift store. Ooh, that's very nice. That's right. Bought new filters for it. Yeah, there's a lot of, if you go to the Goodwill or the thrift stores, there's a lot of interesting finds you can have. I got a milk frother one day at the Goodwill, and then if you go there, I try not to go to them very often because you just never know. I mean, sometimes you could buy too much. Like we used to have a Salvation Army really close to the roastery. They closed it a few years back, which was really disappointing. And I remember, but here's the thing: if you go to these places and you see something you like, you got to snap it up then. Like I remember, I went there one day to the Salvation Army, and they had this 5-stick candelabra, silver, and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome! I'll get it tomorrow." Came back the next day, gone. I was like, "Oh no!" It's like, gosh. So the next time I saw one, and I've never seen a 5 one, but the next time I saw one was a 3 one. Oh, this one. So this is my Lumiere. So I bought it. I was like, I gotta have it, and I think they're awesome, man. I like candelabras. So, but the bottom, the message there is that if you find something at the Goodwill, buy it then. Don't wait, because somebody else is gonna take it. And you can find, that's how we did a lot of our cupware for the Café du Spro. Like we were looking for very like specific styles of Noritake china, and man, you can find like really interesting stuff at the Goodwill, at the thrift stores. Peter's asking, how many microns small is the CHEMEX filter? You know what? I don't have a box. I just have a bag, so I don't even think they say how many. Somebody else might have that answer. I don't know. Or we'd have to look on the. Hey Siri, how many microns thick is the CHEMEX filter? Oh.
The micron size of most paper filters ranges from 10 to 20 microns, effectively capturing coffee grounds while allowing water, flavor, and caffeine to pass through. Popular brands of paper filters include Melita and CHEMEX. This is from majesticcoffee.com.
Thank you, Siri.
My pleasure.
So, if it ranges from 10 to 20, this is the Sybarist. So perhaps the Sybarist, part of the reason that it's so fast is that it's thinner. Maybe it's less than 10 microns, right? So very thin. So let's say that series, Majestic Coffees, is accurate in what they said, what they told Siri. This CHEMEX paper is thicker. It's noticeably, it feels thicker, it seems thicker. So maybe we're going to presume that it's 20 microns versus the 10. Whereas Sybarist, maybe part of the reason Sybarist gets the speed rating is because it's less than 10. So, but as far as definitive answer, I don't know. Peter says 10 to 20 is large. Well, yes, it is. Power Plant says Cafe Deep 27 was thrown away. That's hilarious, dude. That's hilarious. SS equals stainless steel, says Naomi. That's good. Not Stuffle. That's good. Deep 27 is my go-to when I have 8 to 10 grams of coffee beans left, and I love it. Oh, okay. And then Power Plant says, yeah, it was just too small for my needs. I get it. Although we have fit 24 grams into the Deep 27. I'm not throwing mine away because I actually brought it with me back from Japan. So I'm like, that was too much effort to bring it for me just to bin it. He always says that, yeah, totally. This is totally Lumiere. Belle is actually my favorite of the Disney princesses. You know, I like these provincial girls that want to do something more in their life. You know, they look for something more. I like that. I like that. I like that whole idea. Maku says that according to Google, it's also 20 microns. Okay, perfect, perfect. I mean, it feels like if the range is 10 to 20, the CHEMEX does feel the thickest. It feels the thickest of all the papers that I can think of. So, tasting this coffee now. Now that it's very cool and it's been quite a while, I feel like this is just slightly sweeter than this one. The Gator is slightly sweeter. I mean, head to head, I think I like this one better now than this one. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. I don't know. Does that mean that the Gator is better? I don't think so. The Gator is a great value, I think. You can, if you were to get this and buy the filters, yeah, great value, great value. You're getting nice quality brewed coffee. I think certainly a nicer result than if you use the supplied metal mesh filter that it comes with. I'm not a very big fan of those because I like cleanly brewed coffees. I like that cleanliness to it. PowerPoint says you need to do a triangle taste test and legitimize your tasting more. What's the last one I should be using? All right, what else is there? Peter says I might upcycle some 5 and 10 micron filters at work for coffee filters. Oh, nice. You mean take them to work? Is that right? Marcus says, boom, CHEMEX is dead. The CHEMEX killer totally works. Now he says if I were to do it again, I definitely go Gator with CHEMEX paper. I think it's a good way to go. I mean, there's a weight difference. Like this is what 400 through almost 400 grams. This is what 308 or 300, or is it 600 grams? And this is 380. Is that right? Yeah, I think 600, 380. There's a sizable weight difference. There's a tactile feel that's going to be a little bit different, right? And you can see it here, just in the rim. You can see just on the rim. You can see the CHEMEX is thicker, and I think CHEMEX, if this matters, CHEMEX I think is American made. Is that right? I don't know. I think that maybe the ones in America, maybe the hand blown ones are American made. Does it not say? Is there no hecho en Estados Unidos? Instructional brochure. You know, it doesn't say where the country of manufacture. And I believe that the actual hand blown ones are made in the United States. They do have a higher price tag than these manufactured ones. But I don't know. I'm actually surprised it doesn't say a country of manufacture. Whereas, of course, the coffee Gator, this is made in China. Made in China. But if we look at the packaging, though, the CHEMEX, so quite a few years ago, CHEMEX came out with this box, this packaging, which was a dramatic increase in quality and vision and image than they used to. Like they used to package it. I think I have 2 copies in the old school packaging. Let me see here. Yes. So this is how they used to package. Well, this is the old school packaging for the 2-cup. Plain white paper box with a plain black and white sticker. Now, the ones for the 6-cup and the 8-ounce was worse. It was just a brown, like a brown cardboard box, like the typical type you get from from Amazon, not even, from just brown, just a brown one. And it had like a sticker, I think, on it that said CHEMEX, similar to this 6-cup. So when they finally went to this style, it was like, oh wow, man, CHEMEX is all like fancy, but it's still kind of thin. Like the quality of the box is still kind of thin and not flimsy, but just definitely not like you're not holding it like you hold a cardboard box and you're like, oh, it's pretty sturdy, the brown cardboard box. This is not that. This is a little bit cheaper as far as where this one is a cardboard box. I guess you can see the cardboard here. So it has it's coated, right? So it's got coated. It's actually quite nice and it's quite sturdy comparatively. Like you feel like you don't have to, this doesn't feel, you don't have to feel like, you don't feel like you have to be so ginger with this. With this one, you have to, it's like flexing. So I don't know. I mean, does that make a big difference? I mean, you're probably going to throw it away if you're like most people. Plan says triangle test is when you have 2 of the same and 1 different. Okay. Then you could try to find the 2 that match or discriminate the difference. The 1 different. So cups. So we could take. Would that mean that we would brew 1 of these, 2 of these, or just have a 3rd cup that could be 2 of these and 1 of these, or 2 of these and 1 of these? I only have these 2. So, but if that's the case, that could be easy to do. But we're not. And also in this case, we're not really trying to come up with necessarily a definitive, like scientific answer. Just more kind of like more of a feel. And part of the reason is that I think that a lot of it has to do with your own personal enjoyment of coffee, right? Where most people are not necessarily going to sit down and be too critical of their coffee drinking. They're going to be some critical because they're going to look. I think most people will be looking for enjoyment, right, rather than critical analysis. So that's why I tend not to get too heavily into things like that. But I'm open to trying. I'm open to triangulation. Naomi says the CHEMEX factory is in Massachusetts. Yes, in Pittsfield, I think, which is Western Massachusetts. Like I called them one time, and because I've been a dealer of theirs for many, many years, and I called them one day when I was heading to Boston. I was like, "Can we come visit?" They were kind of like, "No." I was like, really? We're enthusiastic supporters of CHEMEX. I was like, all right. Naomi says, but I don't know if that's for the. Well, that's their. I don't know if they manufacture in Pittsfield. I do know that the headquarters is there, so that's where they've been based. Maybe in the Schwamblum days, or Schwamblum, the original founder. Maybe they manufactured them on site back then. I don't know if they manufacture on site today. Yes, the latter assumption is correct. Okay, with the 3, 2, 2, and 1. Okay, gotcha. We'll keep that in mind for next time. I just need to find another. Now I gotta have 3 glasses. I only have. I didn't use the normal. I didn't use this one because I only have 1. I use these because I only have 2. I don't think I have it outside of wine glasses. I don't think I have anything with 3. We'll work on that. All right, so yeah, there it is. I don't really know what else to say to add to it. I would just be prolonging things. So I think that if you're interested in having a CHEMEX type of experience, if you don't have a CHEMEX already, like I wouldn't say if you have a CHEMEX, go buy this. Like that would be superfluous, right? But if you don't have a CHEMEX and you're interested in CHEMEX, and you don't want to spend the money on a CHEMEX, though there are nice reasons to. It's nice to support a company that's in America. It's nice if you're in America. If you're not, then that doesn't make a difference. The heft and the quality of the glass vessel is better than the Coffee Gator. I like the Coffee Gator because I think the name Coffee Gator is kind of fun. but it is a lighter weight, lighter, thing. The volume that we're brewing is roughly the same. This theoretically has up to 800 milliliters, which should be, we can do, we'll do 750 milliliter brews easily. So these two will have roughly the same volume, same capacity, and they both take the CHEMEX filters. I would get the CHEMEX filters and use this if I didn't have the CHEMEX already. But if you have the CHEMEX already, it's not worth it. It's just fun to watch. Paraplant says the leaded CHEMEX is the dream. Oh, that's right. The early versions had lead, right? Never says we can use wine glasses and be fancy for a day. That's so true. That's so true. That's so true. All right. So that's pretty much it for today. Thank you very much for tuning in and hanging out with me here on the Coffee Q&A. Be back again tomorrow with more of the Coffee Q&A. Hopefully it won't be too much snow. We're supposed to get snow this afternoon. So I got to run out there and get some things done before snow comes. Although they've been saying snow all weekend, and I've been, kind of disappointed because none of the snow has arrived. All right. So hope you have a wonderful day or night or evening or sleeping. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.